All right, welcome in on this Thursday Detroit Sports Talk. Ready to get things underway. I'm Dennis Fithian, joined by Brian Jelinek, who's back. Jelinek, how are you? You ready to go?
I am back and ready to go. And some quick news: I will be moving out of the Jelinek Studios in my parents' basement, moving into a real home in mid-November.
Well, congratulations. I'll be moving downstairs tonight after this broadcast. It's a great night in sports. It starts out with the Red Wings, maybe the best baseball game you'll see all year long tonight. I also have Thursday Night Football with the defending champs on there.
Yeah.
It is jam-packed. If you're a sports fan, this is your kind of night. A little bit of something for everyone. We've got the whole gang here out in Pennsylvania. It's Pete Finelli, who is on the chat. He's our intern. We'll see him here and there throughout the broadcast, or Rob Diddy behind the scenes. He can put up that book and show you what we're talking about. Visually, you'll be able to see that. We'll tell you what we're talking about if you're listening through the pod. And know some people just listen to the pod. We will get to the Wings as they open up tonight at the Little Caesars Arena. And then you can see we got some college football, pro football, the baseball postseason, and then we have our picks coming up in the fifth chapter. So that is jam-packed. I like the book. It looks great. Everything's proportioned. We're ready to go.
Let's do it, man.
We're off and flying. We'll hear from Adrian Myers coming up, who will join us in this broadcast as well to talk a little football with us. But yeah, you're ready to go,
Let's talk some Wings hockey, man. And
yeah, it's the opener. It's been 5 years since the Red Wings have been in the playoffs, but they're here tonight. They're opening up against the two-time defending champs here. What has you interested or excited about this Red Wings team?
Well, the way I'm looking at it is the Wings were bad and not interesting at all last year. It's kind of like the Tigers in April. Just they were a dumpster fire. And what I'm looking for this year is I don't expect the Wings to do anything. I expect them to be, I think 500 would be like best case scenario for the Wings this year. But if they're within games, scoring 2 or 3 goals a game, I'm going to be totally happy. Just with the additions of, I don't know, just I'm already blanking on Sider's name, Lucas Raymond, Tyler Bertuzzi being back for a majority of the year. He's going to miss all of the Canadian games. But overall, I'm looking forward to a better offensive output and a loaded defense this year.
Yeah, for me, it's you look back, even though it's been 5 years since they've been in the postseason, it's really since Steve Yzerman has come aboard 2 years ago. He's had 3 drafts, and you already mentioned it, 3 of the Detroit Red Wings drafts. He has been the mastermind behind them. And 3 years ago, he took Mo Sider at number 6, and he's going to be back there on the blue line for the Red Wings. That's exciting, making his debut tonight. And then 2 years ago, taking Lucas Raymond at number 4. Everybody was bitter that the Red Wings weren't able to get the number 1 pick, but they did get number 4. And him making the opening night lineup and being on the top line, that's something, the 2020 first-round pick. So just those 2 guys right there, is on opening night, a ray of sunshine. And then the first goalie, they brought in Grice, who is 35 years old. And then they brought in and made the deal for Alex Nedeljkovic. And Nedeljkovic was pushed off the ice tonight. And that means the 25-year-old is expected to be between the pipe for the Red Wings as they open up this season. And that's pretty exciting as well.
It's incredibly exciting. I mean, I'm just looking forward, like you were saying. I know. First of all, the ESPN NHL music is absolutely incredible. It's the best sports jingle in all. Just if you're looking at everything from the NBA and TNT, everything, it's the best. But I'm looking forward. Dylan Larkin had a bad year last year. Tyler Bertuzzi had a bad year last year. Robbie Fabry
got hurt most of the year.
He was hurt. Robbie Fabry wasn't very good. I am looking forward to Dylan Larkin taking a big step forward, Tyler Bertuzzi taking a big step forward. I'm looking for these guys, including Lucas Raymond, to be at least 70 to 80-point guys and scoring 20 to 25 goals this year. And that's what I'm expecting this year out of Dylan Larkin, Tyler Bertuzzi, Lucas Raymond. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to see. It would be nice if Raymond popped and was a big-time goal scorer, but just seeing these guys look like they belong and look like they're NHLers. To me, that's it. Certainly, you like to see Larkin and those other guys take a step forward. And I know the Red Wings drafted a goalie pretty high in this past draft, but now you got some goaltenders here, and Nedeljkovic is somebody that last year, when you start looking at his numbers, he's been in the league for 4 years, but last year was his rookie year. And you look at his .928 save percentage. You look at his goals against. Andre Fleury won the Vezina, and Nedeljkovic's numbers are right there with him. It's just that Fleury played 36 games, and Nedeljkovic must not have been registering to be with the postseason awards because he just played 23 games. But those numbers right there, he's not going to have quite the defense that he had out in front of him and the guys that are skating out in front of him. But if they could find, when Yzerman was with the Lightning, he drafted Vasilevsky, who's backstop his last two Stanley Cup or the Lightning Stanley Cup winners. But, they had Ben Bishop there. So they had a really good goalie in Bishop, and they kept trying to fortify that and got a younger guy in there. Maybe the Red Wings, this could be the type of situation here. Nedeljkovic can hold things together. Maybe he can end up being the guy that could backstop the Red Wings when they get to the postseason and maybe a Stanley Cup, or maybe it'll be, the kid that they drafted this year so high. So all of that stuff is pretty exciting. It's always great opening night, whether it's, the baseball's the best opening night, football, college football, all of that. You have the whole weekend, you wait all summer long. But basketball and hockey, they have their own special little, I think the one thing that's special about it is that everybody's interested in it. And the other 81 games, you're in and out, like how many regular season games are you really like, I got to see this, unless you're like, just a super, diehard Wings or Pistons fan. And, here tonight, it's like, I think everybody will be, everybody that's a Detroit sports fan will be in and watching the Red Wings tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the Red Wings at the end of the day are probably the most beloved team in the city, just for the fact that the Wings were so good for so long. But going back for a second, when you talked about the defense is obviously gonna be better than it was last year. Last year, the Wings were just a dumpster fire in every way with the COVID shortened season and all that. But guys like Danny DeKeyser, I'm assuming is gonna be better. You have Philip Hronek, you have Mark Stahl, you have Gustav Lindstrom back there. Defense is not gonna be great compared to other NHL, top tier NHL teams. But I think it's going to be a good, solid defense. It's going to keep the Wings in the hunt, I think, relatively, hovering around 10 wins below 500, stuff like that. And like I said, when we were opening the show, I think that's a huge win for the Wings. I think it's going to be a big step forward all around. Yeah,
I was hoping that they were going to be closer to being one of those teams that you could talk about at least being in the last month, being in the playoff hunt. But it was pretty sobering looking at all the experts' predictions today, where they have them, 75 points, 72 points, dealing everybody at the trading deadline and, being a bottom five team, so as much as, you'd hope for a surprise. The experts are not really thinking it's going to be a surprise. They're thinking the other way. They're thinking that the Red Wings are staying where they're at. Verona was a huge loss for them, obviously. But so, if they can avoid being a bottom five team, but then you get to the point where, if you're going to be a bottom 10 team, it's probably best to be a bottom five team. So you get back to that again. But one thing we saw it in Yzerman's first draft. Nobody predicted that the Red Wings were going to take Mo Seider at 6. Everybody wanted him to take this guy or that guy, and Yzerman made the pick, and it ended up looking like it's a pretty good pick. So, you'd like to get the number 1 pick. It's what you'd like to get. Maybe this will be the year if the Red Wings are down there and they have a shot in the lottery that, it could come up. Obviously they're due.
Yeah, I think the Wings being a so-and-so lottery team of the year is going to be worst case scenario for the team. I'm not expecting them to be that bad. I'm not expecting them to be good by any means, but I don't think they're going to be that bad. I think they'll be able to compete in games. And I heard a ridiculous stat on the radio today, said something about the Wings last year when they scored 3 goals, although they only did it 20 times in the season. They were 18-2 or 14-6 or something ridiculous. So when they scored multiple goals like that, they played well. And so I'm just hoping that with the addition of the new goalie, I'm not going to try pronouncing his name, from Carolina.
Nedeljkovic.
It's going to be better.
I think Deli.
Sure.
I've heard him call him Deli.
Deli's an upgrade. The defense has been upgraded. And if Zindina plays better, Larkin plays, if those guys are playing better in the top 2 lines, I think the Wings will be somewhat of a force to be reckoned with.
All right, we'll see. They drop the puck coming up in about a half hour from right now, just down in Detroit. Let's turn the page.
Let's do it. All right, Chapter 2. That's bringing us into some Michigan State. I was going to start Chapter 2 with Michigan State, then we'll go into Michigan college football for the second half of Chapter 2. But going in, like I was last week against Rutgers, although in the first half Michigan State wasn't great, I'm just worried about Michigan State going to Bloomington and playing Indiana. Indiana is not that great right now. They're 2-3 in the year. But I can still be worried. The line's not that big on the game. I know Michael Penix is questionable to go into the game, but like I was last week, I am worried about Michigan State going to Bloomington. I just feel like Indiana's kind of a trap game, and it's going to be the same thing at Rutgers at least.
Yeah, I think it's fair calling it a trap game.
Mhm.
Everybody around here is focusing on, Halloween weekend, Devil's Night, where it's going to be Michigan and Michigan State up in East Lansing. People are looking past Indiana, just like Michigan when they play Northwestern next week. That'll be a total trap game for Michigan. So I think that's fair. I think, it's doubtful that you're going to see Penix, so it's going to be Jack Tuttle, but I don't know. Hoosiers homecoming, does that mean anything? I don't know. It's a road game in the Big Ten, so anything can happen. But the way State looks, they're really all the way through all three phases, they look good. I watched Peyton Thorne on an interview with the Big Ten Network last night or the night before, and I was pretty impressed with him, man. The guy is as thoughtful as a team guy that you would want. I mean, if you're a Spartan fan, and if you haven't heard Thorne, not all guys are great in front of the mic or anything else, but he is. And he was very complimentary of the coaching staff. And, I know they all do this, and the quarterback usually, because they're used to being out in front of the camera, but he was as impressive as it gets. And he had great things to say about Kenneth Walker III. I liked what he had to say about him on the field, how he doesn't have any weaknesses. He can do everything. And then had the same thing to say about him off the field. So that's what you like to hear. I mean, you're a Spartan fan. You like all the stuff that's going on the field, of course, bombs away with Reed and Naylor.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kenneth Walker at the midway point, you could call him the leader for the Heisman in the clubhouse here. So, that's pretty good. And, he's got huge games in front of him. Win the Heisman would be, of course, great. So, all that's good. He could have a huge weekend here. You get nervous when your team's undefeated to get that, but when you have the kind of players that Michigan State has, it should also give you some confidence here, man. They can go on the road and, they could easily just blow the doors off of Indiana with a run game and a deadly passing game.
Yeah, and piggybacking off of what you said about Peyton Thorne, his pocket presence has been truly incredible. Watching him in the Rutgers game, especially, he was stepping up in the pocket, not getting rattled in the pocket when there was pressure, and just having these massive bombs down the field. Like, I love what I'm seeing from Peyton Thorne right now. I mean, it's drastically different when we saw in the first couple weeks of the season. Peyton Thorne looks really comfortable. He's making great plays. He's not making stupid plays right now. And with Kenneth Walker III behind you, who in the midway point you can say is the best running back in the country, I think Michigan State absolutely has. I mean, I can still be worried, don't get me wrong, but I think Michigan State will play very well in Indiana and getting into the gauntlet of playing Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State and all that.
Yeah, some of the feedback here, if you're watching this show for the first time, if you're listening to it on the podcast after the fact, and you're like, I'd like to hear my comments read during the show. Well, we're live at 7 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Go to YouTube, go to Facebook, go to Twitch, and, type away, and you get your thoughts through. Like CJ, who's saying the last two games have felt like a trap game for Michigan State. I get that. Here's Mr. Finelli talking about the defensive tackle for Penn State is out for the rest of the season after an injury during the last game. Wonder if Iowa fans still think they were faking injuries. That was something, that was going on there. And here's another one. Trap game, another trap game. David B saying Indiana has nothing to lose. Well, that's true. That's true. I think the ultimate trap is when you have a gigantic rivalry game looming, and both Michigan and Michigan State do. Michigan's on the bye. Michigan State will be on the bye next week. So the Hoosiers, everybody saying, oh, yeah, backup quarterback Jack Tuttle. Everybody chalking this one up as a W. Everybody chalking both teams up, meaning 8-0 on Devil's Night in East Lansing. Yep. I'm doing that. You're doing that. So it is a little trappy, what we say. It is trappy. I'm with everybody on that.
Yeah, and with Indiana's 3 losses too, they've lost 3 top 10 teams. I mean, you're looking at Cincinnati, Penn State, and Iowa. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that Indiana's a good football team, but I mean it's drastically different without Michael Penix Jr. But exactly. Both teams that want to be 8. You and I are both saying they're going to be 8-0 going into 2 weeks from now on October 30th, and that totally worries me. And just Indiana freaks me out, whether it's watching a Michigan game or a Michigan State game. Just I don't think good things happen really in Bloomington, so I am very worried about Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, let's not go too far. I mean, Penn State was good last year. They had a good coach. They got a good quarterback, but he's hurt. And it's not like the Hoosiers. It's not like playing, in Lincoln or playing against a whiteout. I mean, it's Bloomington, So.
And I understand what you're saying. It's not like playing in Happy Valley or in Iowa City, but just I feel like if we were to go back and look at records both for Michigan and Michigan State, there have been some bad losses in Indiana. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Let's bring in Adrian Myers from Keeping the Score, who joins us on Thursdays, and he gets a smack dab in the middle of some Michigan State talk as we get to Michigan now. Adrian, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, fellas. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. We just talked about Michigan State. It being a little bit of a trap game, looking ahead towards Halloween weekend, taking on Michigan. Michigan's on the bye. Take us back to last Saturday. Good that Michigan comes out with a victory, but what did you think of the Wolverines' effort here, and now that they head into the bye?
That was definitely a big trap game for them. I like the way they came out, throwing the ball down the field a little bit, actually running up and down the field. But going into halftime, they were only up 13-0, which I hated that call where Cade tripped over the center, and they got a field goal out of that, but they got a late touchdown. But what I didn't like was the second half of this game where they let Nebraska just hang around, and then they gave up 22 points in the third quarter, which I was just not a happy camper. So this game really shouldn't have been as close as it was. And as we all know, Adrian Martinez is going to turn the ball over. So that's what ultimately, got Michigan the victory in this game. And, it was a tough game. I get it, but they have a hard time with dual threat quarterbacks, which he is. But I'm happy they got the win. But this actually comes at a perfect time for them to get this bye week. Now is where the boys become men as we see this schedule about to come up. Especially with this game looming in a couple weeks, because Northwestern is going to be a cupcake game.
Yeah, when I was watching the game, I ended up being able to watch most of the third quarter and all of the fourth quarter. I was just sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for Adrian Martinez to turn the ball over. I'm like, I know it's coming, but Michigan was really pushing their luck at the end of the game, and finally, he fumbled the ball, and you're like, all right, there it is. That's the Adrian Martinez I know.
Yeah, you know what? I think the three big games that Michigan has remaining, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, I think the second half against Nebraska, I think that's how all these games are going to be. It's like, you better score. Like, the offense has the advantage. I mean, sure, you'd like to get a couple stops, like to get a couple 3-and-outs, but your playmakers, whether it's Brad Hawkins coming up with that strip that Brian was just talking about, or whether it's Daxton Hill coming up and falling down on his side and coming up and somehow forcing the turnover, that's going to be the name of the game. You gotta be able to match the other team. When you start looking, Ohio State scored close to 50 points their last three games. It's about, and you see what Michigan State's been able to do here. It's about being able to, play defense, but really, man, you've got to match, and you got to get into the 40s and think about if you're going to win these games, these against these big time opponents, two of them being Michigan's biggest rivals. You got to score big time, and are they ready to do that? That's what we're ready to find out.
I'm concerned. I am concerned, definitely. I think the Michigan State game, they're going to have to score in the 30s to win any of these games against Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. Especially Penn. I watched most of the Penn State game. Iowa's not a good team in my opinion. They're just defense. Sean Clifford was tearing them apart before he got hurt. So that's still going to be a tough game.
If all three of us had to pick the Michigan State game right now, we know they both have two games to play here. What kind of score would you be looking at, and who would you pick? Let's start with Jelinek.
You know what? I've been thinking about that question now for the past 2 days, and I think I gotta hand it to Michigan just for the fact that I think Michigan's just a little bit better of a football team. The only thing I'm worried about with Michigan is that they're not throwing the ball a lot, and their defense doesn't come up with turnovers. And I'm looking at, I know this is kind of copping out, but I either see the game being incredibly high scoring with no defense, or a classic Big Ten 17-14 or 17-10 game. I've been going back and forth, so I'm gonna say it's gonna be a classic Big Ten 17-10 game. But I'm just worried about Michigan State doesn't get a lot of turnovers either, but Michigan needs to get more turnovers. But I would have to hand it to Michigan.
For me, I'm going to take State, actually. I've seen them face a little more adversity through the season. They get down and are able to get back. And I know their offensive line isn't that great, but I mean they got a running back like Kenneth Walker III, and they got two explosive playmakers on the outside. They've shown the ability to throw the ball down the field with Jalen Naylor and Jaden Reed. So that's what I'm worried about, especially this is when the corners are really going to be tested. And Jermon Green and Vincent Gray, who was terrible, by the way. I mean, DJ Turner's not that much better, but that's where I think Michigan State has the edge in this game. And I see it being maybe like a 24-20 game, not too high scoring, but enough where you're going to need to at least score 3 touchdowns to get a victory. And I think, like Brian said, getting crucial turnovers in this game, I think the big guy who needs to make plays for Michigan to continue to is Daxton Hill, as he's been making plays all season long.
Hopefully Michigan gets Roman Wilson back by then. I'm going higher than both of you guys. I want to say first one to 40, but I think first one to 35. And if I had to pick it here today, I'm going to pick Michigan, something like 36-33. One of these, the last team that has the ball is going to win the game, a real classic, between these two teams. That's what I'd have to pick right now. So that's way over the total. That's a big time. That's a big time game. That's a lot of scoring there. One thing, like all this, we're nervous and scared about Michigan and this guy sucks. I get all that, but it's also heading into the bye. I've had a chance just to kind of sit back and smell the roses a little bit. And Michigan being 6-0, and that's the plan. And I like to see the quarterback, and I know he's going to have to throw the ball a little bit more, but it just feels good, being a Michigan guy, Michigan fan right now. It reminds me a little bit of following the basketball team. And last year it was nothing but awesome stories. I mean, Juwan Howard's great. Look at his coaching staff. Look at the players. And right now it feels like that to me, following the football team. It's like, man, McNamara standing out in front of the steakhouse with all of his offensive line. And, look at the super seniors, Vastardis at center and Hawkins making the play. And how about Dax Hill? I mean, it's just a lot of fun right now and it's the same thing for Michigan State, but just from the Michigan side, I just know in past years, it's all like teeth gnashing and, waiting for the other shoe to drop and all this. But, they put themselves in position. I was thinking about it today. Now that Penn State's quarterback's hurt, you don't know who's going to be the QB in that game, whether Clifford's going to be available. That almost seems like you could say it would be a toss-up. If Michigan was able to win 2 out of the 3, Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, I mean, that would be awesome. And you know what? If they lost 2 out of the 3 and they beat Maryland and Northwestern, which I think is doable, they'd have a double-digit win season, which also there wasn't anybody that I knew that was picking that before the season. So you go along and your expectations change, but I'm just feeling good here at the bye week, smelling the roses here with the Maize and Blue.
Yeah, that's just a hollow way to put it, though. I think you got to at least win 2 out of 3. I mean, I think if you ask any Michigan fan, beating Michigan State and Penn State is a huge season win. But people aren't really worried about the Ohio State game. Just the fact that Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten and probably will be one of the college football playoff teams at the end of the year. I think if you say, oh, yeah, we beat Maryland, Northwestern, lose 2 out of 3. Let's say you just beat Michigan State. I don't think that's a good season. I think a majority of Michigan fans will say the same thing. I just think they'll say, wow, great, we beat Michigan State, and we realize that Michigan State's not that great of a team, but you can't just walk away not losing or not winning against Penn State and Ohio State. I think it's a really hollow, 10-2, 10-1, 10-2.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You have to get 2 out of 3 for it. There's no doubt in my mind for it to be a successful season. Honestly, I think if you can beat, like you said, if you can beat Penn State and Michigan State, that's a win because we're not beating Ohio State. They have too much firepower, and now they are hitting their stride. Now they're making the college football playoff is definitely still a shot. We'll see what happens with Cincinnati and Oregon and Oklahoma. By the way,
we'll talk about Oklahoma. We will talk about Oklahoma. That dumpster fire.
But I think that has it for me. If they don't get 2 out of 3, it's going to be another just lost season for me. I'm excited like Dennis is. I'm optimistic. There's a lot more fight in this team. I would say that usually that Nebraska game they would have quit. They would have quit in that game and would have gave up, but they fought hard, and it's so far so good. This is I needed a breather this week, so they don't stress me out.
Yeah, I'm fine with your guys' opinions. Like I said, I'm just enjoying this bye week, so I'll deal with all those possibilities when they arise. But I'm just feeling good during this bye week, so bring it on. All right, Jelinek mentioned it. All of the other games in college football coming up here. What's standing out? What are you thinking about for the rest of college football this weekend? Anything jumping out to you guys? Anybody's got anything?
The Oklahoma dumpster fire. I'm sure you saw this about allegedly a school, or not allegedly, but a school paper, or the Oklahoma school paper looked in on a practice, and I'm not remembering the exact. What's his backup quarterback's name?
Caleb Williams.
Caleb Williams. They saw Caleb Williams taking snaps for the first team for Oklahoma, and they reported it, saying Spencer Rattler was taking second team snaps. And this whole thing, like the Oklahoma football program is freaking out. They canceled all media availability for the weekend. Lincoln Riley's basically going into a cocoon, not saying anything, which I think is a terrible idea to begin with. But Spencer Rattler's not that good. I know we went in talking about how, or just the country in general said that Spencer Rattler's going to be a Heisman favorite. Man, that dude is just not good. And I'm going to go on a limb and make a bold take. He's not going to be an Oklahoma Sooner next year.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think he's gonna transfer because his stock has fallen dramatically, especially if he's gonna ride the bench. Because if this is not his first time getting benched, he was benched last year, I believe, against Kansas State in the middle of that game, and Oklahoma just didn't have anybody that was capable of replacing him. But when you get 5-star after 5-star, now you got Caleb Williams. They actually got another 5-star coming in another year or two. So Lincoln Riley just had that thing moving, and at a point they're driving down the field, they're making plays. And Spencer fumbles the ball trying to do a crazy snap, trying to get him back in the game. And then once Caleb got that 66-yard run, I knew it was over for Spencer. He was riding the bench. You got to go with the hot hand. So I gotta give Lincoln a lot of credit for making that move and giving him some boosting the energy of that team and the morale.
But I think the Oklahoma program going the full shutdown and not talking is just a horrible idea. It's just going to add a lot more fuel to the fire for idiots like us and national media members to say stuff. And just going back to that game, too, that game was just incredible in every way. Like, I don't know how anyone can say they hate Big 12 football because everything about the Red River Shootout or Showdown, whatever you want to call it, was awesome. And I'm just bummed my Longhorns didn't win.
Well, what people hate about Big 12 football is what you saw in that showdown. It's what you saw from Texas, no matter who was the coach, of them playing patty cake on defense and not putting any effort in. Like that was an embarrassment to the sport, the way Texas played defense there, especially at the end. Oklahoma was playing for a field goal, and they just let that guy walk in. I mean, I could at 51 years old put a better effort into tackling. They must have been gassed or whatever else, but the hook 'em horn, Sarkisian, all of that. And the other thing, like, I don't know what's going on with the school newspaper or anything else, but it didn't take, any Watergate investigation to know who was going to be the quarterback for Oklahoma. It wouldn't have surprised me if Rattler, would have gone and say he's, transferring to Tulsa already. So none of that stuff matters. I mean, like that stuff happens all the time with college football coaches. If you're in the media and they were watching a session that they weren't supposed to, and like you go to practice, you're not supposed to be reporting on personnel decisions and what's going on there. That's the give and take that they have with the media. So that sounds like a lot of nothing to me without even reading the story.
Backing up a little bit, when you're saying it's like an embarrassment for the sport and all that,
it was an embarrassment.
Look at the Cleveland Browns Chargers game from last weekend. That's what the NFL is going to be turning into. I am a big proponent of just throwing the ball a million times a game, 55 to 50 games at the end of the game. Like, I love that stuff. I love watching like the air raid offense. I just love watching offense. I couldn't care less about defense. I want to see as many points as possible. And the opening play of the game, just a slight screen to the left, 88 yards to the house, is awesome. I love stuff like that.
It was still an embarrassment. Go ahead.
I don't mind it. I like offense, but I play corner, so that's my favorite position. So I need to see some competency on defense, like being able to have the ability to at least tackle in space. Texas D-line just wasn't good. We've already known for years that Oklahoma, no matter what they do, just can never seem to get the defensive side of the ball. And then one more thing I want to add. Xavier Worthy could have been a Michigan Wolverine, and he was for a hot second, which, watching him ball like this is I'm happy for him, but geez, he would look good in maize and blue.
Well, I just one thing, just when it comes to recruits like that, like I understand that the Michigan football program and the Texas football program are basically the same, how they're super great at the beginning of the year in the preseason polls, and then just crap the bed towards the end of the year. If you're a 5-star recruit and you're choosing between Michigan and Texas, I would assume 9 times out of 10 you're going to choose Texas just for the fact that it's an even bigger brand than Michigan if that's possible. Like,
well, I don't think anybody.
Get why he went to Texas.
I think they're pretty comparable brands. It's not like Texas is way out in front. If you wanted to use Oklahoma or one of the teams that have been going to the college football playoff, but it's not like Texas has been out there winning championships or anything else. And mostly they've been known as soft as tissue paper. That brand of football that you like. That's what they've been playing on defense for over a decade now. But yeah, the thing about Xavier Worthy that hurt so much is that it was National Signing Day and he signed with Michigan. And he wanted to enroll early. He was on campus, and then whatever it was, their outgoing recruiting coordinator, whether it was the admissions where they said, well, we've got a few problems here, and they couldn't get him through and jump through the hole loops or whatever it was, he was like, I want to be in. And they were like, no, you got to hold up. Next thing you know, he's on his way and says, you know what, I'm going to hit that transfer portal like with the quickness. And, that's the fastest anybody was in with Michigan and out. And then to see him put up the 261 yards and 2 touchdowns. It looked like the greatest performance ever. I mean, that hurts. That stings, man. Adrian, I'm with you on that. That sucked.
Hey, it's all right. We could definitely use him right now for sure. I could tell you that we're a little hurting that receiver right now, so we could definitely use it.
Our interns coming in saying that Williams outsnapped Spencer Rattler 15-7 in pre-stretching portion of practice. So I'm here for all the speculation because I hate Spencer Rattler. So
I don't know if that was speculation. That sounds like he was reading that off.
Give me Williams.
It sounds like he was reading that right from what a reporter had to say. No, that wasn't speculation. That sounds like a report.
We'll just speculating for future starts for Williams instead of Spencer Rattler. I'm all for that.
We'll find out. When we'll find out Saturday. I guess we won't know until Saturday night before the game. So
who was Oklahoma playing?
Paul thinks Rattler in a Lions uniform.
Saturday night.
Rattler would be perfect for a Lions uniform. I mean, look at Jared Goff right now. He's turning the ball over basically every other snap. So Spencer Rattler would be perfect for that.
Yeah, look, if Rattler wasn't coming in, if Rattler wasn't a 5-star quarterback and going in and playing for Lincoln Riley and the lineage there the last couple of years of what was going on with all the QBs from Jalen Hurts to Baker Mayfield to Kyler Murray, it kind of feels like he was just the anointed one and he was going to be next. Even last year, as you said, he was benched. So he's got that cachet, that follows him. Like there'll be some other teams like, yeah, we'll hand you the job and everything. But, he might think that, he's just ready to go pro. And he's not going to be a first-round pick. But would somebody take him in the second or third round? Potentially. I think there's some potential for that. But a lot of that will have to do with, his lofty star status and that recruiting. And, so there'll be a team or two that could fall for that.
He should go to the MAC, just ball out in the MAC. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, go to Eastern.
They might go to Ole Miss.
Take over for Matt Corral. I would like that. I could see that.
That'd be a good fit for him.
And working out with Lane Kiffin. I'm just worried about a Big 12 quarterback going over to the SEC, though. That's never a good sign. Like, look what happened to KJ Costello when he transferred from Stanford to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I understand that Mike Leach's offense is not going to work in the SEC, but that was a dumpster fire to watch. I felt bad for KJ Costello.
Well, Jelinek, too bad that Michigan State's playing Indiana at noon because Oklahoma State and Texas, they had to put up about 60 apiece, and you'd be just in love with that game.
Love it.
All right, let's turn the page and get to some NFL, and that'll take us at first to the Lions, who play Cincinnati. And I'm going to give you a quick spoiler for my pick coming up in the 5th chapter. I'm going to pick the Lions to win this game. I picked it before the season. I think they'll either get this one or in 2 weeks against the Eagles, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Sunday. I've got the Lions winning outright, so they'll get that monkey off their back. We won't talk about 0-17, and we can just then start talking about hopefully they lose the rest of their games and, have the number 1 pick. What do you guys think?
Remember when we were talking about how Jamar Chase wasn't able to catch the ball? Well, that was a big lie. Jamar Chase is really, really, really good at football and really, really good at catching footballs. So I'll spoil mine too. I think Cincinnati is going to win. I can see the Lions hanging around covering. But, man, Joe Burrow is playing out of his mind right now. He's thrown for over 1,100 yards. He has 11 TDs on the year already. Like, Joe Burrow is the real deal. I can't wait to watch him play, and that's honestly the reason why I'm watching the game is to watch Joe Burrow play. But give me Burrow and the Bengals all day long.
I'm going with the Bengals as well. They blew that game against Green Bay. That game was a debacle of a kicking game. Those 5 missed kicks in like the last 8 minutes of that game. Joe Burrow gets away with a late pick in overtime. I don't know what he was doing with that. I know he's dealing with a throat contusion, but there's no way he's not playing. And Jamar Chase is just catching everything down the field, every deep ball. It's just like back at LSU again, back in 19. Tyler Boyd's a stud. Joe Mixon's a stud. They're doing an okay job at protecting Burrow, but the Lions are just, after these last couple of weeks of these losses, that just wears on you. You know, like the game honestly shouldn't have been that close against the Vikings. The Vikings just found a way to let the Lions hang in that game, and credit to the Lions. And the Dan Campbell crying thing, I didn't feel sorry for him. I hate to say it because it's too early in the season to see you break it folding that early. But I'm going to go with them getting a victory in 2 weeks against Philadelphia. That's when I think they'll win. I'm going with that game right there, but I'm going to take the Bengals outright in this game.
Yeah, and talking about the Dan Campbell crying thing, I don't feel sorry for him, but I like seeing the emotion. We've dealt with robots for the past 8 years or whatever it was, and just seeing Dan Campbell visibly upset and just kind of lionized in a way did hurt me a little bit. And I think it's either going to be great for the players because they truly do love playing for him, and you can see that they don't quit in any of these games, or it's just going to backfire and just spit him in the face. But I'm really hoping it's the former, where the Lions just come out and play well. I mean, at this point, like, it's sad to say, like, I'm not really expecting wins. I just want to see Jared Goff not turn the ball over. I want to see the Lions defense play better. I want to see the Lions play 4 quarters of football, which we haven't really seen yet.
Well, to me, it's early. They have played hard for them, but to make it like indication, like they really like playing for Dan Campbell. Let's see if they're 0-10 and, if they still like playing for Dan Campbell, or if it gets to be 0-15, if they still like playing for Dan Campbell. And you know what? You can go to the waterworks and you can get emotional. And people do like that. Juwan Howard cried when it was his introductory news conference, at Michigan. I saw Jim Leland after a no-hitter and making the playoffs. I saw him cry. Dick Vermeil in the NFL used to cry all the time. He used to cry in the postgame. You can only go to that so much. Dan Campbell, if they lose another tough game on Sunday, people are going to get tired of the waterworks really quick. But, it was 1 week, and I think it's fine. I knew that was going to be a big story for him. I think one of the big stories here, Cincinnati was getting ripped that they took Chase over Penei Sewell because they had so many issues on their offensive line. But I think Cincinnati is really happy with her selection right now of Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked about that pick too, because after watching Joe Burrow's knee explode last year, like, okay, they need to get an offensive lineman, and then the not being able to catch the football thing, the footballs are too big, whatever. Now they're not crying about that at all. It's a great combination that I would love to see in Cincinnati for years to come, because watching Burrow throw to Jamar Chase is awesome.
They got a special thing going right there. They got the foundation piece in the quarterback. Now they just got to put everything around them with the offensive line. I thought they were actually going to take Rashawn Slater from Northwestern because he's doing a phenomenal job in LA right now, blocking for Justin Herbert. But I can't be mad at them for doing that. They made a bold move, and so far it's working, and they're looking like they can contend for a wild card spot.
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't have brought up Slater because it doesn't mean that Sewell's going to be a bust or anything, and he's a little bit younger. But you're right. I saw what Pro Football Focus had to say about Slater. Looks like a top 5 left tackle in the league already. I mean, that's what you want to hear about the guy you drafted. Again, it doesn't mean that he's a bust, but, looking at the second offensive tackle that was off the board and they're calling him a top 5 guy already, that's the kind of stuff that you're hoping to hear about your guy.
I just think it's a problem it's going to be a big problem when Decker finally comes back, because now they want to move Penei Sewell back to right tackle, which he's really a left tackle, and they don't want to upset Decker. But I just think that's a trading card, a trading piece that you could have if eventually you want to get some more pieces to build this defense up, because I don't feel like you can move him to a right tackle when he's naturally a left tackle. It's just the whole footwork, the stance, how you move is totally different.
Well, he hasn't played that well at left tackle the last couple games, so we'll see what happens out there at right tackle. You mentioned the Chargers. They might be the biggest game of Sunday when they take on the Ravens. A little MVP battle with Herbert, and then the way Lamar Jackson played on Monday night. What do you think of that game? Ravens are favored by 3.
I'll let Brian go first.
I'm all in on the Chargers bandwagon. I love watching Justin Herbert play. I love their receivers. I love Austin Eckler when he's healthy. Keenan Allen's awesome. The Chargers are sweet. I love the Chargers. Best uniforms in the league. Just I can't hate the Chargers. How can you hate them? Justin Herbert's awesome. Their defense is a top unit in the league. Just it's all around a great football team. Is it Bradley Stanley? First name? What's the coach's name? Something Stanley.
Brandon Staley.
Brandon Staley's awesome, and what a great fit for the Chargers.
Yeah, how about that as a sobering remark from David there? Last year, the Lions could have drafted Justin Herbert, and this year they could have had Slater. Imagine what the outlook right now would look for the Lions if they had Justin Herbert and Slater out there at left tackle.
I don't want to cry.
The Lions would have put Slater at right tackle, and they would have had Goff anyways, and they'd have Herbert on the bench.
I'm gonna take the Chargers in this game to come to Baltimore. I know they're coming from the West Coast, but I love what I'm seeing from Lamar Jackson. He is shutting his haters and his critics up. But I just think the run that Justin Herbert's on right now is a lot of momentum going. And Baltimore's problem right now is I think they're relying too much on Lamar right now. They didn't really have a good running game going. The Colts lost like 3 or 4 corners in that game. They're down, and they just totally choked the game away, which I will give Lamar his credit, but that's the best out. Marquise Brown hasn't dropped a pass since the Lions game.
Yeah, leave it to the Lions to sharpen everybody else. Well, Adrian, can we get Adrian's Twitter page? It's just blown up on the screen right now, and I'll just ask Rob if he can do that, just like that. I don't know. He's pretty good, Rob, from what I've seen behind the scenes. I'll ask him that. See if he can get something. As I ask you a final question for you, you mentioned somebody get the critics or prove the critics wrong and everything. Big Ben has a chance to do this on Sunday night. It'll be no Russ cooking. It's going to be, oh, look at that. We blow that up for the entire screen. It's going to be just the Steelers taking on the Seahawks, and that game is in Pittsburgh. There he is at keeping the score. Nice job, Rob. That was impressive. If you want to see some Steelers and listen to some Michigan football there it is from Adrian. Adrian, will the narrative with Big Ben change on Sunday night in the Steel City?
I'm still at this point in time. I'm just trying to get through the season where we have to play exactly how we played Sunday in order for the Steelers to win games consistently at this point in time until we can get them out of here. Because I'm still not happy with him. Najee is going to be the key to this season, and the line keeps him blocking. But I'm still not sold on Big Ben. I know he threw some touchdown passes, but they were running the ball so well that the Broncos were creeping up, and Big Ben was making some easy passes. I do like that they put Claypool in the slot because Juju's done for the season, which I think that was his last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. But we can get to that. We can get to that in the offseason. But I'm gonna say they're gonna win this game just for the fact that Russell Wilson's not playing, and we don't know what we're gonna get from Geno Smith. They got to take advantage of these opportunities with guys being hurt and, take advantage of it. But I do think they'll win this game Sunday night. I'll say 31-18 because Seattle's defense is horrible. This is probably as bad as Kansas City's.
If Geno cooks them, they're in trouble. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll talk with you next week, Adrian. It's always great to hear from you. Have a great week, man.
All right, fellas. See y'all later.
We'll see you. There he is, Adrian, and keeping the score. Man. And there you see him. And it's a good spot to end with Adrian and pick up with Pete because Pete also there from the Keystone State, and we'll have an opinion on the Steelers and the Eagles tonight who play football. Which one has you more intrigued here, the Steelers on Sunday night or the Eagles hosting the defending Super Bowl champs, Pete, tonight on Thursday Night Football?
I definitely got to go with the game tonight. I mean, the Steelers game would have been a bit more interesting if Russell Wilson was playing, but let's be honest, he pretty much is that entire team at this point. I mean, Lockett and Metcalf are a great receiver, but, it's always been Russell Wilson's team.
Would we like to see Blake Bortles playing for the Seahawks, or you just can give the keys to Geno and let him ride with that?
Is Blake Bortles on that team, on the Seahawks?
There was a report that they were going to work him out. I'm not sure if that went into anything, but there was reports that he's going to work out for the Seahawks.
I don't want.
Yeah, well, the way Geno played coming in for Russell Wilson when he got hurt, and like you'd give him the chance to go out there because he actually played really well. Took him the length of the field. It was a nice scoring drive. But I think you're right, Pete. Tonight it's hurts. The Eagles are at home here taking on Super Bowl champs. You see if they're able to. If they've got anything. I mean, you can play really well and still lose by double digits against the Bucs, though. The Bucs pretty high powered.
That's true. Yeah, and
we just know Geno's not going to be that good, though, all year. I mean, he's going to have flashes of him being like, oh, my God, Geno was supposed to be good in the league, but we're not going to see that in the long run. So I think the Seahawks are done for the year without Russ.
Yeah, well, that's what I was trying to say. Is he looked good last week for, a drive or, the time he was in. He's not going to be able to do that for a full game against a good defense like the Steelers have. He's going to, maybe start out like, okay, they might be competitive in this game. Steelers are struggling on offense. Maybe they can keep score, but eventually he's going to give out and going to throw some stupid interceptions, or they're just not going to be able to move the ball very well.
You know what? I think you make a good point, Pete. As much as I was talking about that drive, you can do it in the short term, but doing it in the long term is tough. Although, Russell Wilson, he could be back in, as soon as a month. So I wouldn't necessarily completely cook the Seahawks. Pete, anything else before we bring you back and pick them? I said we were doing rapid fire tonight, and here I am talking more than anybody.
You know what? While we're still on the topic of pro football, I do just a little side note I want to bring up that this weekend we'll be making a drive down to Canton to go check out the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I was wondering if either of you guys had been there yet.
I have not. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame, but and I've been to the College Football Hall of Fame, but never the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or basketball, or baseball.
Yeah, I've just done Cooperstown, and I've done the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. Those are both pretty cool, but I've never done the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
So, Pete, we want a picture of you in front of Canton and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Get some picture with Barry, something with Barry Sanders.
Yeah, get a picture with Barry.
Sure. All right, I'll get that for you guys.
All right, well, you'll come back and pick them in just a minute here to see how you do, and we'll rack up some of these games. But before we do that, we're going to turn the page and get to Chapter 4.
Oh, talking about good baseball, Dennis, it's been a long time since we've been able to talk about good baseball teams in the ALDS and /ALCS, and these playoffs have not disappointed me at all so far. I mean, the Rays losing to the Red Sox in the fashion they did really hurt me because I'm a big Rays fan. But overall, the playoffs have been incredible, and I cannot wait for the winner take all in the NLDS tonight between the Giants and the Dodgers. So 100%, this has been a great MLB postseason so far.
Yeah, the ground rule double, that whole thing that happened with the Rays, that sucked. Then it looked like they were out of it in the next game, down 5-0. They came back.
Yeah.
It was exciting. That was an exciting series there. But this series tonight, two teams, 107 wins, 106 wins. And, the Giants, the two games that they've won, they shut out the Dodgers. And then in the other games, the Dodgers, put up crooked numbers here. But Logan Webb started game one and won that one, shut him out through almost 8 innings. I mean, and they could not touch him. If that guy's even close to what he was in game one, that gives the Giants a great shot, man. He was just humming along. So you get pitching like that, you get a starting performance like Logan Webb did in game one, or the whole bullpen did in the game 3 victory. You could have the Giants, but I think when you have teams that had this many wins, and now you're sitting here, this is an elimination game in a game 5. If you're a baseball fan, this is what it's all about here tonight. I mean, this should be awesome.
Yeah, on top of that, I think on the American League side, so the ALCS has been set between the Astros and the Red Sox. 5th straight ALCS appearance for the Astros, and there is a future Tiger. I'm just going to go out and say it. The future Tiger playing for the Astros right now. His name's Carlos Correa, and in the playoffs, I got to read these off. He's hitting .385 with 2 doubles, 4 RBIs. His career postseason stats: 276, 17 bombs, and 54 RBIs. That's a guy I want my team immediately. I don't care if he's paid $30 million a year. I want him in a Tigers uniform.
I do too, but wait a second. Tony La Russa, Carlos Correa is a cheater. Here, it says it right here. I don't know. Like, that's what he said. He said he had a buzzer on. Now, I don't know. Like, Correa is great. We hope that the Tigers are able to get him. We know that A.J. Hinch was his manager. We know that the Tigers are in desperate need of a shortstop. I mean, there's a lot of things that point to the Tigers, but I think the fan base is all in as well. I mean, it kind of feels like if the Tigers get Correa, the fans are going to be back and the interest will be at an all-time high. Everybody wants him. And you know what? Whether it's the right – I mean, it seems like the right move. I agree with you. But the one thing Mike Ilitch would have signed and would sign Carlos Correa. So we're going to find out if Chris Ilitch is like his old man or not with this, because Mike Ilitch wouldn't care about – it doesn't matter. Whatever it was, he would sign him. He would make sure he would sign him. So Chris Ilitch, you have to sign Correa.
And for everybody listening, we know Chris Ilitch is a big fan of the show and listens every week, so wants to hear Tigers stuff. So there's that. I'm going to read CJ's comment in a second, but I don't have a problem with the whole cheating thing and all that. Like, I understand AJ Hinch did his time. He sat out a year, all that. I would hire Jeff Luhnow tomorrow to be our general manager. I think Jeff Luhnow can draft well. I understand that he has that huge dark cloud over him with the whole cheating scandal, but that man can draft one. I don't have a problem signing former Astros. But CJ's comment right here, Correa, Seager, Story, going out, the way I'm looking at this is that Trevor Story, I'm never going to trust a player coming out of the Colorado Rockies organization. It's going to be like Tulo 2.0, where I understand that Trevor Story has these amazing numbers in Colorado, but I mean, I could hit 40 bombs a year in Colorado. Looking at Kyle Seager, I think he's going to be priced at $30 or $35 million a year. And that is way too expensive. I don't know if I want to dip that into one player. And looking at Correa, I firmly believe that I know that he is kind of injury prone. I believe that you can get Correa on a discount, if you will, compared to the other two guys of $25 to $27 million a year compared to $30 million a year.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you say is correct, except that last thing. I don't think you're getting any kind of discount when it comes to Correa. And I think about the Dodgers, man. They've got so much money that it's like, are they really going to get outbid with Seager? I mean, kind of seems like they would just write the check for him. The Rockies, I think Story's out of there. One thing, if the Astros win the World Series, is Correa just going to be like, you know what, hit free agency and I'm out of here. Maybe he could. Maybe I hope that the Astros lose. That you get him out there, so there's no more, feeling like let's try to run it back one more time or anything.
Well, they had Jose Altuve on a really team-friendly deal for the longest time until they finally upped his paycheck. I just don't see the Astros shelling out that kind of money for Correa, where they have amazing young talent that eventually have to sign in Alex Bregman or what's his face? The left fielder. I can't remember his name. Doesn't wear batting gloves. Bats left-handed. Something Tucker, Preston, or Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker's going to have to get paid. Stuff like that. Lance McCullers is going to have to get paid. The Astros are not going to be able to afford all these guys. They want to go younger because Carlos Correa is, I think, 26 or 27 years old. They're going to try to get younger in the middle.
Not that old.
I mean, it's not that old compared to an Alex Bregman or a Kyle Tucker, money that they have to spend. So that's what I'm saying. I think Carlos Correa is absolutely hitting the free agent market regardless if they win the World Series or not, and he will be a Detroit Tiger next year.
Okay, I hope you're right. Let's get to the fifth chapter.
Let's do it. Rob, hit the music. We're going to bring Pete back in, and we are going to make some picks. So, with that, I just want to start off. We lost Pete.
I tried to
Thank you.
With that, I want to start off by saying that Fithian, you and I are both 7-5 on the year with our picks. Intern Pete is at 5-7, clawing his way back up to 500, and our producer, Rob Banker, is only at 0-1 because he picked the Lions. So I'm assuming he's going to pick the Lions again this week. But we're going to get into it. We're going to start with some college football first, and we're going to start with number 9, Oregon is hosting California. Oregon is laying 13.5 points. Pete, we'll start with you.
Look, we know Oregon is capable. They beat Ohio State. But last time they played, they lost to an unranked team. So I'm thinking they're pissed off. And they're just gonna run this game, no question. Definitely taking Oregon. No, yeah.
Yeah, the running back that went off Lidell against the Buckeyes, he's out for this game. But Oregon still has a shot if they can run the table. I'll lay the 13. Give me the Ducks.
Absolutely, I'm with you. Lay the 13. Give me Oregon all day long. Cal's not very good.
No.
Game number 2. Number 12, Oklahoma State is in Austin playing number 25, Texas. Texas is laying 4.5 points at home. Pete, who do you got?
Give me Texas. I like them.
Ooh,
home team.
Hook 'em. Fifth?
Well, the way Texas plays defense, you're never out of it if you're Oklahoma State. Give me the points. Like you only have to do is throw the ball over the middle. They don't tackle you. They're the softest defense that I've ever seen. Give me Oklahoma State outright.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to parlay this a little bit. I'm gonna dip my toe back in the sports gambling. I'm gonna take Oklahoma State money line and just Oklahoma State in general. So give me Oklahoma State. I think they're gonna win, no problem. And finally, game number 3, number 10, Michigan State is in Bloomington. Michigan State laying 4.5 on the road. Pete, what are you saying?
I feel lame for college football, just taking the favorite team every time. But I know you guys were a little bit worried about MSU, thinking it's a trap game, but I'm not too worried about them. Give me MSU, and they're going to cover the 4.5 points.
Fith.
Yeah, I'm with Pete here. Different week. The way they're taking the top off the defense and the way Kenneth Walker's running the ball, I would lay 10 points in this game. Maybe get some kind of get that skewed point spread where you could take Michigan State minus 9.5. I like the Spartans big in this one.
Yeah, I'm worried because Indiana has been able to keep big plays down, but at the end of the day, I'm going to take Michigan State. I wanted to say Indiana could cover, but changing my mind. Give me MSU. Then we're gonna battle through 4 NFL games real quick. Just boom, boom, boom. Chargers at Ravens. Ravens laying 3. Pete, who are you taking?
I'm really excited for this game. It's gonna be obviously Herbert and Lamar, but I'm gonna take the Chargers. I mean, they were so good offensively against the Browns last week, and the Ravens didn't look great for 3 quarters of football against a not very good Colts team. So give me the Chargers in this one.
Yeah, I think the short week here for the Ravens too. That's one of the things that's going to play into this. I'll take the points. I like the Bolts.
Let's do it. I'm with you too. I just want to say one thing that Adrian said is that they're putting too much on Lamar's shoulders. I disagree. I mean, Lamar is in year 3 or year 4 as a starting quarterback in the league. He's got to play better in the first 3 quarters of the game. I can't have Lamar Jackson doing what he did last week in 1 quarter every week. So Lamar's got to be better. But give me the Bolts. Cardinals in Cleveland. Browns laying 3 at home. Pete?
I want to say Cardinals, but they're undefeated, but they kind of remind me of Pittsburgh last year where they were undefeated, but I felt like they weren't confident about it. They weren't going in and beating teams no problem. And the Browns also looked good last week offensively. So give me the Browns in this one. The Cardinals are going to lose their first game.
Yeah, it's the dog pound. I think the one thing about it, Kyler Murray and D. Hopkins, they haven't been practicing either, man. This, to me, I think this line will end up moving up to 4.5. I like the Browns big in this one.
All right, I'm going to be the lone one taking the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's playing at an MVP level right now. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I know Hopkins never practices to begin with because the guy's always allegedly dinged, but he always shows out on Sundays. So give me the Cardinals. I think they're just going to win outright. I would take Cardinals money line all day long. Game number 3, Seahawks in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh laying 4.5. Pete, how are your Steelers going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as much how the Steelers are going to do. It's the fact that there's no Russell Wilson and maybe even no Chris Carson. Like I said earlier, Russell Wilson is that team. Pittsburgh has not been great this season, but they're going to do enough to beat Geno Smith. Give me Steelers easy.
I'm with Pete for all the reasons he said.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. No Russell Wilson means the Seahawks aren't going to be good. So I'm totally with you. And finally, the game of the week, the biggest game in the city of Detroit.
Let's go.
Bengals in Detroit. Bengals laying 3.5 points on the road. Pete, what do you got?
I'm taking the Bengals to win, but it's the Lions, and they're going to do what they've been doing. They're going to come back at they're going to suck for the beginning, most of the game, and they're going to come back at the end, make it competitive, and then they're going to lose by a field goal or less. So they're going to cover, but the Bengals are going to win. It's going to be disappointing all over again.
Yeah, I disagree. This is going to be the week for the Lions to get the monkey off the back. I think that they go and they beat the Bengals 21-20. Outright. Lions get their first win.
All right, I love the confidence, but I'm kind of with Pete. I'm going to take the Lions to cover just for the fact that they've shown that they, in the second half, or just in half of football in general, they can hang around. Lions are going to suck in the first half. Joe Burrow's going to do his thing with Jamar Chase. Second half, Lions are going to come back and lose by less than a field goal. Just that simple. They're going to lose by less than 3. So those are the picks.
Lions need to learn how to play for a full game and not just decide to show up with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then they can win a couple of games here and there.
Jared Goff has to learn how to not turn over the ball. So when that happens and Jared Goff has a clean game of no turnovers, the Lions will win a game.
And Hawkinson's got to break 50 yards for the first time in 3 weeks. That would be helpful.
All right, let's get Rob's pick on the Lions and the Bengals game. Mr. Lion. Rob, Diddy, who do you like?
The Lions.
He likes the Lions. All right.
Let him say it.
Oh.
All right, we're not.
That's it. All right, Pete, great job. Thanks to Adrian Myers for Brian Jelinek. I'm Dennis Fith. We will talk with you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. A little Detroit Sports Talk, Fifth Chapter, the GOATs, all those things. Thanks to Rob Diddy as well, even though he didn't want to join the broadcast. Good night.